Kunja Vihari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yamuda Tira Manachari Yamuda Tira Manachari Jayara Madhava Kunja Vihari Jayara Madhava Kunja Vihari Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Jaya Radha Giridhari Radha Giridhari Radha Jaya Jagannath Jaya Baladeva Jaya Subhadra Jaya Gaurnitai Jaya Gaurnitai Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Gurudev Jaya Gurudev Namaskar Paramahamsa Parivrajacharya Ashtotar Shatasri A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki jai अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय नामचार्य शिलारीदास ठाकुर की जय प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद की जय श्री श्री राधागिरी भगवान की जय श्री श्री जगन्नाथ बलदेव सुभद्र मैया की जय श्री श्री गौर निताय की जय श्री गिरिराज महाराज की जय निताय गौर प्रेमानंदे हरि हरि बोल all glories to the assembled devotees Hare Krishna all glories to the assembled devotees Hare Krishna all glories to the assembled devotees Hare Krishna all glories to the lotus feet of Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga all glories to Srila Prabhupada all glories to Srila Gurudev. Hare Krishna, welcome to this morning session. So we are reading from Srila Prabhupada Lilamrita. We're starting chapter 25, titled Our Master Has Not Finished His Work. Srila Prabhupada Lilamrita ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Okay, I'll just read from the book. There was no warning that Srila Prabhupada's health would break down, or if there were, no one heeded it. As he moved from his devotees in San Francisco to his devotees in New York, no one passed any words that Swamiji would slow down. After the 5.5 hour jet flight, Prabhupada spoke of a blockading in his ears, but he seemed all right. He didn't rest, but went straight through the festive airport reception into 3 hours of strong lecturing and chanting in the storefront at 26 2nd Avenue. To his New York disciples, he appeared dazzling and lovable, and by his presence, his glances, and his words, he increased their Krishna consciousness. To them, his advanced age, now nearing 72 years, was but another of his transcendental features. He was their strength, and they never thought to consider his strength. In the temple, speaking from a new dais behind a velvet-covered lectern, Prabhupada said, "In my absence, things have improved." New paintings hung on the freshly painted white walls. Otherwise, it was the same tiny storefront where he had begun his International Society for Krishna Consciousness. He had written them that he wanted to enter the new building on his return, but they had failed. And they had foolishly lost $6,000. But without dwelling on this, Prabhupada made a more important observation. His disciples, despite the physical absence of their spiritual master, had made progress by following his instructions. As he sat looking happily at the freshly painted walls and the bright faces of his disciples, Prabhupada explained how one obtained expertise in Krishna consciousness by submissively following the spiritual master. He gave the example that although an engineer's apprentice may not be expert, if he turns a screw under the direct supervision of the expert engineer, he is acting as an expert. Many of the devotees were relieved to hear this. They knew that giving up material desires was difficult and that they weren't going to become completely pure devotees overnight. Brahmananda had even written a poem stating that if, after many lifetimes, he could chant one round of the Hare Krishna mantra with attention, he would consider this the greatest success. But Prabhupada was explaining that even if they weren't expert in love of Krishna, if they worked under an expert, they were also acting as experts. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Mudiraye Nashtaprayeshu Vadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavate Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki Srimad Bhagavatam Puranam Amalam Yad Vaishnavanam Priyam Yasmin Parahamsyam Ekam Amalam Jnanam Param Giyate Tatra Jnana Viraga Bhakti Sahitam Naishkarmyama Vishkritam Tachrinvan Supathan Vicharana Paro Bhaktya Vimuchye Nara Bhaktya Vimuchye Nara Bhaktya Vimuchye Nara. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Today we are reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, Chapter 30. We are on text 38. Vayam tu sakshad bhagavan bhavasya प्रियस्य सख्युक्षण संगमेन सुदुश्चिकित्स्यस्य भवस्य मृत्यु भिषक्तमं त्वाद्य गतिं गतः स्म वयं तु साक्षात् भगवन् भवस्य प्रियस्य सख्युक्षण संगमेन सुदुश्चिकित्स्यस्य भवस्य मृत्यु भिषक्तमं त्वाद्य गतिं गतः स्म वयं तु साक्षात् भगवन् भवस्य प्रियस्य सख्युक्षण संगमेन सुदुश्चिकित्स्यस्य भवस्य मृत्यु भिषक्तमं त्वाद्य गतिं गतः स्म.
हरे कृष्ण प्रभु दंडवत प्रणाम। भयं तु साक्षात् भगवान् भवस्य प्रियस्य सङ्गमेन सदुश्चिकित्सस्य भवस्य मृत्यु विषक्तमं तवद्य गतिं गतः स्म। हरे कृष्ण।
हरे कृष्ण प्रभु दंडवत प्रणाम। I will try. भयं तु साक्षात् भगवान् भवस्य प्रियस्य सख्युक्षणसंगमेन सुदुश्चिकित्सस्य भवस्य मृत्यु विषक्तमं त्वाद्य गतिं गतः स्म। हरे कृष्ण।
दंडवत प्रणाम। भयं तु साक्षात् भगवान् भवस्य प्रियस्य सख्युक्षणसंगमेन सुदुश्चिकित्सस्य भवस्य मृत्युर्भिषक्तमं त्वाद्गतिं गतः स्म। हरे कृष्ण। हरे कृष्ण प्रभु दंडवत प्रणाम। I am also trying. भयं तु साक्षात् भगवान् भवस्य प्रियस्य सख्युक्षणसंगमेन सुदुश्चिकित्सस्य भवस्य मृत्युर्भिषक्तमं तद्य गतिं गतः स्म। हरे कृष्ण।
We go for the word for word. Vayam, we. Tu, then. Sakshat, directly. Bhagavan, O Lord. Bhavasya, of Lord Shiva. Priyasya, very dear. Sakyuhu, your friend. Kshana, for a moment. Sangamena, by association. Sudushchikitsyasya, very difficult to cure. Bhavasya, of material existence. Mrityuho, of death. Bhishaktamam, the most expert physician. Tva, you. Adya, today. Gatim, destination. Gataha, have achieved. Sma, certainly. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Dear Lord, by virtue of a moment's association with Lord Shiva, who is very dear to you and who is your most intimate friend, we were fortunate to attain you. You are the most expert physician capable of treating the incurable disease of material existence. On account of our great fortune, we have been able to take shelter at your lotus feet. Somebody would like to read the purport?
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Purport by Srila Prabhupada ki jai. It has been said, Harim bina noiva smiti taranti. Without taking shelter of the lotus feet of the personality of Godhead, one cannot attain relief from the clutches of Maya, the repetition of birth, old age, disease and death. The Prachetas received the shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead by the grace of Lord Shiva. Lord Shiva is the supreme devotee of Lord Vishnu, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Vaishnavanam Yata Shambhu. The most exalted Vaishnava is Lord Shiva, and those who are actually devotees of Lord Shiva follow Lord Shiva's advice and take shelter at the lotus feet of Lord Vishnu. The so-called devotees of Lord Shiva, who are simply after material prosperity, are in a way deceived by Lord Shiva. He does not actually deceive them because Lord Shiva has no business deceiving people, but because the so-called devotees of Lord Shiva want to be deceived. Lord Shiva, who is very easily pleased, allows them all kinds of material benediction. This benediction might ironically result in the destruction of the so-called devotees. For instance, Ravana took all material benediction from Lord Shiva, but the result was that he was ultimately destroyed with his family, kingdom, and everything else because he misused Lord Shiva's benediction. Because of his material power, he became very proud and puffed up so that he dared kidnap the wife of Lord Ramchandra. In this way, he was ruined. To get material benediction from Lord Shiva is not difficult, but actually, these are not benedictions. The Prachetas received benediction from Lord Shiva, and as a result, they attained the shelter of the lotus feet of Lord Vishnu. This is real benediction. The Govis also worship Lord Shiva in Vrindavan, but the Lord is still staying there as Gopishwara. The Gopis, however, prayed that Lord Shiva bless them by giving them Lord Krishna as their husband. There is no harm in worshipping the demigod, provided that one's aim is to return home, back to Godhead. Generally, people go to the demigod for material benefit, as indicated in Bhagavad Gita 7:20. Karmashtoir
Namaste.
karmashtoir rita jnana prapadante anna devata tam tam niyamam astaya prakritaya niyata swa. Those whose minds are distorted by material desire surrender unto demigod and follow the particular rules and regulation of worshipping according to their own natures. One enamored by material benefits is called Rita Jnana, one who has lost his intelligence. In this connection, it is to be noted that sometimes in revealed scripture, Lord Shiva is described as being non different from the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This point is the point is that Lord Shiva and Lord Vishnu are so intimately connected that there is no difference in opinion. The actual fact is Ekale Ishvara Krishna or Shavabrita. The only Supreme Master is Krishna and all others are his devotees or servants. Chaitanya Charitamrita Adilila 5.142. This is the real fact, and there is no difference of opinion between Lord Shiva and Lord Vishnu in this connection. Nowhere in the revealed scripture does Lord Shiva claim to be equal to Lord Vishnu. This is simply the creation of the so-called devotees of Lord Shiva who claim that Lord Shiva and Lord Vishnu are one. This is strictly forbidden in Vaishnava Tantra. Yastu Narayanam Devam. Lord Vishnu, Lord Shiva, and Lord Brahma are intimately connected as masters and servants. Shiva Virinchi Nutam. Vishnu is honored and offered obeisances by Lord Shiva and Lord Brahma. To consider that they are equal in grade is a great offense. They are all equal in the sense that Lord Vishnu is the supreme personality of Godhead and all others are eternal servants. Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much, Prabhuji. Om Ajnana-timirandhasya Jnananjana-shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Presthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namine. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Translation again. Dear Lord, by virtue of a moment's association with Lord Shiva, who is very dear to you and who is your most intimate friend, we are fortunate to attain you. You are the most expert physician capable of treating the incurable disease of material existence. On account of our good fortune, we have been able to take shelter at your lotus feet. So this chapter, as we've seen, is describing the activities of the prachetas. And if we think about it, what did the prachetas do? What were their activities? Right from the beginning, even before this chapter that we've been reading or hearing about the prachetas, what was it that prachetas did? They just followed the instructions of their father first. Then they did so much tapasya and they pleased Lord Shiva. And after pleasing Lord Shiva, now they have actually got the darshan of Swayam Bhagavan, of Vishnu. And then Vishnu, even before asking the prachetas, pleased with their activities, Vishnu gave them benedictions. He was so happy with their cooperative spirit. And he gave some benedictions. And after receiving that benediction, after hearing Lord Vishnu, the prachetas were so overwhelmed that they immediately started glorifying, paying their obeisances to the Supreme Lord. And in this section, which is from 22 to 42, in this particular chapter, the prachetas, they are glorifying the Lord. They are offering their prayers to the Supreme Lord. So this, from a materialistic standpoint, what are the activities that they did? We sometimes look for, oh, he did so many big things, so many impossible things, fought so many wars, won so many wars. For us, those are big activities. But just by listening to the Father and doing austerity, from our material perspective, we don't see them as big activities. So when we read these chapters and we see, okay, activities, we think, oh, what is the big deal? But actually, this whole chapter is signifying that this is the actual purpose. This should be our actual activity if we want to really make progress to fulfill the mission of this human life. So in this particular section, as they are glorifying the Lord, as they're offering their prayers, they have already mentioned, just a little bit of I'm touching upon some very important points that has already been covered in the previous texts, but I'm just wanting to touch upon them to come to today's verse to understand today's context in a much better perspective. So we see that in text 29, the prachetas are saying that the Lord, he knows he knows our desires. Whatever desire we have in the heart, the Lord already knows that. And depending on our benefit, what is best for us in our progress towards our spiritual destination, he awards or he gives, he fulfills those desires. If they are not in line with our spiritual progress, he does not. But if it is in line, or he thinks it would make us benefit from that, he fulfills those desires. So it's the Lord's discretion, but he knows all our desires. Then in 30, there was a very important point where the prachetas, they said, or they were praying that the Lord should be they are praying or they are requesting the Lord to be satisfied by their service. So they're saying that the best benediction that the prachetas can have or ask for is to ask for the Lord to be satisfied with their service. Now, this is a very significant aspect. So just by requesting the Lord to be satisfied is a big benediction for the prachetas. Like when we talk about benediction, we may talk about, I want this, I want this, I want this. So it's all about me. As soon as we think about the word benediction, it's not about somebody else. It's about me, what I want to do. So it's all about me. But here the prachetas are saying it's not about me, it's about the Lord. So if the Lord is satisfied with my little service, that is my benediction. And I thought it's a very, very significant point for devotees to contemplate on as we do our service in our everyday spiritual practices, in our sadhana. And then in 33, the prachetas, they say how they can actually get this benediction of intensifying their service and pleasing the Lord, or ensuring that the Lord becomes satisfied. And what do they say? What do they say in 33? They say that they want to associate with those devotees who are engaged in discussing the pastimes of the Lord. So associating with devotees, definitely, but in association, what do we do is equally important. So being with devotees is important, but in association, what do we do is even more important. Otherwise, devotee association can also slowly degenerate into a social gathering. Not that devotees should not socialize, but devotees socialize with Krishna in the center, unlike others. So the three things very important. First is the Lord knows the desires. Second is they want to have the benediction of the Lord's satisfaction based on their service in the association of devotees who are discussing the pastimes of the Lord. And then in 35, prachetas, they say three things, which I'm sure you would have noted, but I just thought I'll highlight anyway. So there are three places that the prachetas said that the Lord is present. The Supreme Lord is present in three places. Where? Three places where these things don't exist. So the Lord is present, of course, in his abode as Paramatma, but he's also present where these three things are not present. And what are those three? Where there is no material hankering. Number one. Number two, where no longer people are envious of one another. Third, where there is no anxiety or fear. So as soon as we are in anxiety or we become very fearful, Krishna goes away. Krishna doesn't exist over there. And we have that experience, right? When we are listening to Krishna Katha, we may be having some stress over our work or something that we are wanting to do in our day-to-day life. But when we are somehow meeting like this, hearing Bhagavatam, those thoughts don't come to mind. Why? Because Krishna is present. So this is practical experience. It is not just Bhagavatam telling us. We actually feel, we can experience this. Similarly, when there is no enviousness amongst devotees, amongst people who are associating with each other, that's when Krishna is present. And when there is no material hankering. When devotees meet, the hankering is for spiritual progress. Hankering is to improve the sadhana. The hankering is for glorifying each other. So this is where Krishna is always present. So I just thought these are the important points there. And that brings us to this verse of that we are discussing today, is how the Lord, he is an expert physician. Here the word that is used here is Bhishaktamam in this particular shloka. Bhishaktamam Twadya Gatim Gatahasma. So Bhishaktamam means he's an expert physician. And in Chaitanya Charitamrita also, there is a mention that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is an expert Vaidya. It is said in that particular context, the verse, it says Chaitanya Vaidyam Ashray. This is from Antya 5.1. There's a verse that says Vaigunya Kita Kalitaha Vaishunya Vrana Piditaha Dainyar Nave Nimagno Aham Chaitanya Vaidyam Ashray. So this Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is a Vaidya. He's a doctor. He's a physician, expert physician, and Ashray, and we have to take his shelter. So the translation of this verse is, I am infected by the germs of material activity. So the germs are what? The germs in our life are material activity. And I am suffering from the boils of envy, the boils. Therefore, falling in an ocean of humility, I take shelter of the great physician, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So in this particular verse also, it is mentioned that you are the most expert physician capable of treating the incurable disease of material existence. So the Prachetas are very clearly saying that this material existence or this disease is incurable. So with any other process or any other medicine or any other, whatever process we follow, whatever aspect we want to do to solve this problem of material existence can never get satisfied, can never get solved, unless we meet or we take the treatment from a specialist, and that is the Supreme Lord. So that is a very important point here. Then Prachetas also talk about a moment's association with a pure devotee. And in this case, of course, they are glorifying Lord Shiva. So there are two aspects here. One is they are saying that the virtue of a moment's association. The word here in this verse is Kshana Sangamena. Kshana is a moment and Sangha means association. So associating with a pure devotee of the Lord, even for a moment, what does it do? It because they associated with Lord Shiva, they could attain the Supreme Lord. So attaining Krishna or attaining the Supreme Lord is only by associating with the Lord's devotee, the Lord's pure devotee. And that association, even if it is for a moment, is extremely valuable. And then the last sentence in this particular translation, if we see, that on account of our great fortune, and what is a great fortune? To get the association for a moment. That is our great fortune. We have been able to take shelter at your lotus feet. So we have to consider, so shelter at the lotus feet is not easy. Taking shelter, we may say we want to take shelter, but the process we have to follow. We have to actually engage in the activities to be able to take shelter. It is not just for saying sake. So here, 3 points again are very, very important. One is the value of the association of pure devotees of the Lord. So it is said, Lavamatra, Sadhu Sango, Sarva Shastre Koy, Lavamatra Sadhu Sango, Sarva Siddhi Hoy. That even if it is a little bit, so sometimes we, sometimes we get a bit disturbed or agitated that we are not getting association of sannyasis or the devotees of the Lord, or sometimes our own spiritual master, and we sometimes lament, which is in principle a nice idea that we want to more association. But whatever little we get, sometimes we actually don't value that. It is said that sometimes when you get something very easily without struggle, we lose the value. Remember, that story that you must be definitely you must have heard, that there was a cobbler. There was a cobbler who was sitting under a tree, very poor, but he did his work every day. He came to work. He used to do his work, work on the shoes, chappals, or whatever the clients came and wanted him to repair. And he used to nicely do. And while doing his work, he used to just sing along kirtans and bhajans of the Lord and do his work. And he used to be very happy doing his work. But he didn't have lots of money. He just made enough to meet his needs and his family's needs. So one day, a king was passing by, and the king was quite disturbed for some reason. And he was passing by with his minister, and he saw this cobbler singing away. And he asked his minister, how come he's so happy? You see, he's singing. He doesn't even have anything. He's having torn clothes. He doesn't have anything. He's so poor. Still, he's so happy. And how come I have everything? I have all the resources. I've got all the money, but still I'm not happy. So he said that, Maharaj, he is happy because he has not joined the 99 club. So the king said, what is 99 club? He said, don't worry. I'll show you. I'll explain to you, and I'll demonstrate what is the 99 club. So what did he do? So he said, don't, you just go away. In a few days, you will see his situation will change. So that day, the minister at the night, he came to this cobbler's house, and he had a bag containing 99 gold coins. And he placed it in front of his door and went away. Next day, the morning, the cobbler, he went to the door and he saw this bag, and he was amazed, who's kept this bag, and he opened it and he saw gold coins, and he was, oh, wow. And the wife came and, oh, so nice, gold coins. Now, they were very happy seeing the gold coins. Their happiness increased even more. And then they brought the bag inside and they started counting the coins. So they counted, and they saw it is 99. So they thought, how can it be 99? If somebody is giving us coins, they must give us 100, you see. Maybe we didn't count it properly. So they started counting again. And again it came to 99. And at that point, they thought that, no, something must be wrong. Maybe the coin was lost somewhere while they were taking the bag, or somebody while counting might have put it in the house. Somewhere it must have just gone over. So they started searching for that 100th coin in the house. They couldn't find it. They got stressed. They went outside, that by chance while putting the bag, maybe through some hole, the coin might have gone up. So they checked everywhere. They checked in the garden. They couldn't find it. And then all the time after that, they were just thinking, where could it go? Where could it go? So they were not focusing on the 99 coins they already had. They were focusing on the one coin that never existed. And that coin gave them immense stress. So next day, when the cobbler went back to do his work, he was doing the work, but there was no kirtan from his mouth. He was stressed. His head was down and he was just working away, and his mind was reeling. And, he did this whole work. Next day again he came, he was depressed like this. And that day, the minister told the king, okay, today you come. And the king passed by, and then he saw this cobbler who was singing so nicely. Now his head is down and he's stressed about something. And the minister went and said, Maharaj, see, he's joined the 99 club, and see what's happened to him. So the moral of the story is, sometimes when we get something so easily, we don't value it. So the 99 coins came to him very easily, you see. So they didn't value it. They were more focused on something that they didn't have. So similarly, when we get anything, any resources in our life, we must be thankful to Krishna. what to talk about the biggest benediction or the biggest gift Krishna can give us, and that is the gift of the association of a pure devotee. What to talk about association of a pure devotee, association of any devotee in our life is so beneficial and significant. If you think about it, there was one devotee in our life, in all our lives, all devotees who are listening today, there was one devotee in our life who inspired us to read a book of Prabhupada, inspired us to come to the temple, inspired us to have a program at their house, Kartik program, Purushottam program, general program, anything. There was one devotee who inspired us. So that devotee is our Path Pradarshak Guru. He's the one who showed us the path to Krishna consciousness. So even that in our life is extremely valuable. We must be grateful for that. What to talk about our Shiksha Gurus? What to talk about our Diksha Guru? So any moment of association with our Guru, with any Vaishnav, any senior Vaishnav, we have to be feel extremely fortunate. We must be grateful and feel good fortune. And when we value that, when we feel that we are so fortunate that Krishna has given us this benediction, that is when our inclination to take deeper shelter of Krishna's lotus feet will increase. And that is essentially what the Prachetas are talking about in this verse. So we cannot approach Vishnu or the Lord directly. We approach Vishnu through the service of his dear devotee, which was Lord Shiva in the case of Prachetas. And here another important aspect is Priyasya Sakyuhu. So this personality who gave the Prachetas a moment's association was a personality who was extremely dear, Priyasya Sakyu. He was extremely dear to Lord Vishnu. So pure devotee of the Lord is somebody who is extremely connected, extremely dear to Lord Vishnu. And Lord Vishnu is the expert physician. And the devotee who gives the association to others is also an expert physician. He is a representative of the supreme physician, but he is also a physician. And he gives us the medicine in the form of the process, in the form of instructions. Just like the doctor writes a prescription, the spiritual master or the pure Vaishnavas, they also give us a prescription, and the prescription comes in the form of their instructions. All we need to do is follow the prescription and actually eat the medicine. Similarly, the Vaishnavas, they give instructions which are nothing but prescriptions for us. So all we have to do is have faith in them and just follow the process. And just like any other medicine, if it is taken correctly under the right guidance, it will definitely produce the results, the desired result. Similarly, the process of bhakti, when it is followed under the right guidance, then it produces the correct results. So taking shelter is very important. And it's only when we take shelter that we get relief from material miseries. And the shelter process has to be under the right guidance. Now, somebody might question that we are constantly seeking shelter of different people. So we take shelter of our parents when we are young, then we take shelter of our friends, then shelter of family, then shelter of our boss, then shelter of many things, many other things in our life, money, prosperity, resources. But they are all temporary shelter. We all know that. But we still want to take shelter. Means what we mean by shelter is when we have that resource, we feel protected. We feel that now nothing wrong can happen to us. So we feel a bit satisfied. We feel protected. But here, the Lord, in many cases, even in Bhagavatam, there is a nice verse which says that there is only one person or one place where we can get absolute shelter. that shelter that will never go away, that shelter that will never be temporary, that shelter from where we don't have to take any other shelter. Sharanam Sharanyam. So these are a nice verse that Bhagavatam 3:25-11 that says that Tvam Tvagataham Sharanam Sharanyam Swabhritya Samsarataro Kutharam Jigyasayam Prakriti Purushasya Namami Sadharma Vidam Varishtham. So he says that I've taken shelter of your lotus feet because you are the only person of whom to take shelter. Or in other words, you are the only person who is worth taking shelter of. You are the axe, Kutharam. You are the axe which can cut the tree of material existence. So I offer my obeisances unto the greatest of all transcendentalists. And I inquire from you about the relation between man and woman and spirit and matter. So here it is said that the Lord is the only personality worth taking shelter of. A shelter that is permanent, that is eternal. So by getting the association of a devotee, by following their instructions, we can take this shelter of the Lord that is worth taking shelter of. Now, here Prabhupada in the purport, he also writes that people who follow Lord Shiva, again, because of misconceptions, because of being in ignorance, they sometimes propagate wrong things, that Shiva is a supreme person, or all the devatas are ultimately one. And that's not the correct conception. So, as followers of Srila Prabhupada, Prabhupada is so wonderfully given us the correct understanding of not only the Supreme Lord, but also the Devatas. Sometimes people who we speak to, they have a perception that ISKCON people or Prabhupada people, they only talk about Krishna. For them, Krishna is everything, and they don't talk about anything else. They don't respect any other Devatas. Actually, that is the highest form of ignorance or misconception. In fact, Prabhupada has given us knowledge not only about Krishna, but also about other Devatas, about Lord Shiva, about Lord Ganesha, about Saraswati, everything, all the Devi Devatas, all the prominent Devi Devatas that people otherwise worship without the right knowledge. Prabhupada has given us the right knowledge, correct understanding. So much so that we can even share that with others and make them educated in this matter. So this is a very important part. Now, even after getting educated, if people are not having the right instruction and guidance, then they take shelter of Devata or even Krishna for the wrong reasons. So we may take shelter, but for material benefits. Again, an example Prabhupada gives in this particular purport is the example of Ravana. Now, see, Prachetas took shelter of Lord Shiva, right? Now, Ravana also took shelter of Lord Shiva. Now, what did Prachetas want? And what did Ravana want? So you see the difference. So Ravana, then who else? There is also Hiranyakashipu. Who else took shelter for purely material benefits? You can think of anybody else from scriptures that we hear. So they took shelter of a devotee. Yes, Prabhu?
Vikarasur?
Vikasur, absolutely, yes. Again, Lord Shiva itself. He prayed so hard, and when Shiva, and he asked something for Shiva, and then when he got it, he wanted to destroy Shiva only. See the mentality Prabhupada says, of such people. So this is going on in the name of taking shelter, or in the name of worshipping the Lord, the Devatas. People feel that they're very pious, but are they really pious is the question. So if somebody is doing it only for material benefit, which is temporary, without the right understanding and the right consciousness, all this will only result in destruction. So whatever, if even somebody gets what they want to fulfill their desires, their material desires, it will ultimately end in their own destruction, as we have seen in the case of Ravana, Hiranyakashipu, Vikasur, as Prabhu mentioned correctly. But the real purpose of associating with the Lord and his devotees is to attain the Lord. The Lord, attaining the Lord or getting the satisfaction of the Supreme Lord itself is the biggest benediction for a devotee. And again, examples, many examples. We've got prachetas. Who else? When they approach the Lord and the Lord asked them for benediction, they didn't want anything.
Not sure who, but Narsi Mehta, some Gujarati saint who was a devotee of Lord Shiva earlier, and then he said, "Whoever pleases to you, I would like to have that." And then he took him
Yes,
to Vrindavan. He said, "This is what pleases me most." So I
correct.
don't remember the name of that saint, but
Yeah, absolutely. Even from Bhagavatam, anything we've already covered. So
The Dhruva Maharaj,
Dhruva
Prabhu.
Maharaj, yes, absolutely. There's Dhruva Maharaj, Prahlad Maharaj. So all these personalities, they had access to the Lord and they could have asked for any material benediction, but they chose not to. Why? Because they could understand, they had the right understanding between the temporariness of material benefits and their destructive value if not utilized properly, and the benefit of asking the association of a devotee to progress spiritually. So this ultimately, this association of devotee is very important. And Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita essentially talk about what? Three things. Again, the three B's. It talks about Bhagavan, first B. Second B, it talks about Bhakta. And the third B is the relationship between Bhakta and Bhagavan, which is
Bhakti.
Absolutely, that's it. Now, to understand these three B's, we need the association of devotees. And when we get such association of devotees, we must feel extremely fortunate and we must actually seize every opportunity to take as much association as we can to progress in our own spiritual lives. And that is the crux of this whole verse and the purport that Prabhupada is explaining today. And we have been fortunate not only to have good association of devotees, we also have the association of Srila Prabhupada, who is obviously the pure devotee of the Lord. So reading his books, associating with his books by reading on a daily basis is the most important association that we can have in our day-to-day life. So association again has to be done every day, every single day, whether we are reading, whether we are discussing, whether we are speaking. Some form of association is a must. And if we have that opportunity every day, we must consider our life extremely fortunate. There may be problems in everybody's lives, and there is little bit more, little bit less. Everybody is going through problems. But if we have association and if we are taking advantage of that association, that is the benediction. That is a feeling, that is an experience that makes other problems in our life a little bit bearable, is it not? So this is the boon, the benediction we should value. And moving ahead, we should look for opportunities to increase our fortune, to stay grounded in our devotional service, and to make steady progress in this regard. So thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. All right, any comments or questions?
Hare Krishna Prabhu, Dandavat Pranam.
Krishna Prabhu.
As always, your good guidance and your deliverance of speech of the text, we learned so many things right from the beginning of the text to the end of it. So many things, especially today's text, it's all about association. You rightfully guided what is the most important. Association is not a very small word, it's a biggest word. To understand the importance of association you have so nicely elaborated with examples, especially the cobbler one. It's so beautiful, 99 clock. We are very much serious about the lost thing, but we don't think about what we have. And because of that, the anxiety goes on and on. And the three things you mentioned about material hankering, anxiety, and your what is the other?
Anxiety, fear,
Anxiety,
enviousness.
and then your anxiousness. All the things they go in circular way, but we don't realize it. So the association would help us in every respect to minimize these things so that we can intimately associate with the Lord's devotee, as we have seen with the examples that Dhruva Maharaj, Prahlad Maharaj, they take the benefits of the association in a way that benefits them. So it is very, very important, as you mentioned, 3B is so important. The association of Bhagavan, Bhakta and Bhakti are the main prime importance in our life. And in every morning, by attending this class, we try to get a bit of it, and that helps us to understand the importance of association. Thank you so much for enlightening the word association so nicely. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Okay. Any other comments?
Apu, thank you very much for wonderful class. Really like your points. I particularly have one question about Apu. There was about this the purport Prabhupada mentions about demigod worship, that we can do it as long as we have goal of going back to Godhead. That's the point Prabhupada makes in the purport. So regarding that, sometimes we have to really engage in demigod worship to keep up with our family tradition, or to keep our family members happy, just to as a. So what should be uh, not motive as such, but mood when we worship them? Should we think at least in the heart of heart that okay, we are doing this as a service to them, or just to keep them happy, or should we pray to them saying that that please give us bhakti uh, out of this service we are rendering? So what should be our mood when we have to do engage in the demigod worship? We may not do it as a devotee exclusively like others do, but in case we have to engage in it.
Correct. Very good question, Prabhu. That's very nice. And we need to have the correct understanding in this regard. So, all the devatas, who are they?
Devotees
So
of
there,
the Lord.
They are Vaishnavas. Yes or no?
yes,
All the
yes,
devatas, they are directly holding some administrative posts for the Supreme Personality, right? Now, if they are not Vaishnavas, do you think Krishna will give them that job? So they are all Vaishnavas. All the devatas, they are all Vaishnavas. So now, if we meet with a Vaishnav, how do we meet them? When we meet a Vaishnav, especially Param Vaishnav, what do? We offer our obeisances first.
Yes.
Right? We take their blessings and we ask them, we inquire from them, and we tell them to bless us so that we can progress in our path of bhakti. Yes or no?
Yes.
Yes.
Same thing we do with our devatas. If we get an opportunity, whether it is a worship at home or whether they are telling us to come with them to the temple, no problem. We go to the temple. We may even, just to please them, be part of the ritual. We don't have to say, oh no, Prabhu, I am Krishna Bhakta, you do your thing, I am not doing. मैं तो सिर्फ जाप करता हूं बस. No, please don't do that. In the heart, we know what we are doing is in the right direction. But sometimes to please people for 2-3 minutes, 5 minutes, if you have to just sit with them, be part of their service or their ritual to please them, that is okay. But in the heart, we pray that please, somehow or the other, push me in this path of Krishna Bhakti. Thus, they are happy. The Devata is happy. We also feel that I have met a Param Vaishnava. We are also happy.
Yeah, thank you, Broji. That was very nice understanding. So we'll treat them as any other senior Vaishnava we come across, and then that was that I like it. Thank you. Yeah, thank you, bro.
Which is what is being highlighted, na? Lord Shiva is the Param Vaishnava.
Yeah.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, Dandavat Pranam.
Krishna
Thank
Prabhu.
you for clarifying this point. And in this regard, also we should follow Chaitanya Mahaprabhu when visited the temple of in Bhubaneswar, Lingaraj temple. He did
Yes,
not hesitate that I will not go there. He has gone there, and as you have rightly told, we should always remember they are the great devotees of the Lord. Not only that, they are our spiritual master even. Lord Shiva is one of the Mahajanas. And
absolutely.
they have got a parampara. And similar way, the Brahma has also, we are part of this parampara as well. So if we have not the proper knowledge to understand, they are also a great Vaishnava, and we need their blessings because they are great devotees. So if we forget that, then the problem arises. So when the knowledge is clear, I don't think we have any problem to deal with the problem.
Absolutely. Absolutely right. Yes. Thank you for highlighting that example of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So these are all, that's why Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came as an Acharya. Although he was a Supreme Lord, he came to teach by his own example how we should engage in bhakti. So very, very important. Thank you, Prabhu. Okay. Any other points to add? There's lots to cover sometimes. We do miss.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, Dandavat Pranam.
Krishna Prabhu.
Thank you for unpacking this. So many nice points. On Lord Shiva, a few years back, I was invited by a neighbor to go there. The Shivratri program, they are having reading of Shiv Puran.
Right.
And I was a bit bewildered because it says Lord Shiva is the supreme, everything emanates from him. So how should we look at this?
Yes, absolutely. That's all often another challenge that we have, and that is again when these things happen, we feel even more grateful to Srila Prabhupada. Because of Prabhupada, we've got the broader understanding. So just to quickly touch upon point is, first we have to understand all these Puranas are meant for people to take shelter of that particular personality. So just like if I have to write the autobiography or I have to write about my family, I'll be glorifying my own family, right? I'll not talk about somebody else's family. If I have to teach my grandchildren that, okay, which family lineage you're coming from, I'll only talk about my lineage, right? I'll not talk about my neighbors or I'll not talk about the famous personality in my neighborhood. I'll talk about my thing only. Why? Because the people who are my descendants, they feel connected. They feel that they are part of this lineage. I know it's a bit of a very crude example, but the whole idea of the Puranas is to have people take shelter of that personality. So if it is a Shiv Puran, they have to take shelter. Now, unless that personality is glorified to the point of saying that, that person is supreme, you just pray to him, they will not pray. But the Puran by itself cannot be independent. Just like Vedas, Puranas, Itihas, Upanishads, they are all part of the Vedic package. If we only read one part and reject or not have understanding of the others, then we are only reading one. It's like joining a university and doing only one subject. You have to do many subjects. After doing all the subjects, you get the total understanding of that course. Then you can pick and choose which one you want to major in. But you can't say, no, you've got 10 subjects, I'll only do one. Because that is the only subject I know and I want to be expert only in that. No, it's not possible. So similarly, Puran is only as an initial step based on the modes people are in. There are Purans in the goodness, in the mode of goodness, mode of passion, mode of ignorance. And Shiv Puran, as we know, Shivji is the controller of the mode of ignorance. So people in that mode, they need somebody to at least pick them up from their material struggles and existence and at least start following something. So they are given an opportunity in the form of these Puranas to engage, and as they purify and they come across a devotee, their onward journey starts. So if they are saying that, or if they feel Krishna is, Shiva is supreme, the point is, we don't have to argue who is supreme, who is not. The point is, what are they doing? If you really consider supreme, are you listening to his instructions? Are you doing something on a day-to-day basis to improve your life? So that is the, I think, important point. And then if they are doing something, allow them to do. And if they are following the instructions of Lord Shiva, just like Shiva did with Prachetas, Shiva will inspire in their heart one day that they will want to know more. And that's when the devotee comes into their life and gives them the knowledge about Krishna and the Supreme Person. And if they are purified enough by following the instructions of Shiva, by following Shiv Puran, it's a natural progression that they will be more inquisitive and they will want to discover the ultimate goal of human life. So nothing to worry, Prabhu. Let them read. If they are reading Shiv Puran, we can read the Rudra Gita.
Yes, very correct.
Thank you, Prabhu, for the explanation. Yeah.
Right. Okay, any other points? All good? Fine. Yeah, it's 8:37, quite late.
So, Hare Krishna, Prabhu, it appears that there is no other person to make comment.
Sure.
Thank you for the very much, very good class. Thank you once again for discussing all these points.
Right.
And
Vancha
class may be
kalpataru
concluded.
step.
Yeah.
Panchakalpatarubhyascha
Titanang Pavunebhyo Vaishnavebhyo
Bhagavad
Namo Namo Ananta Koti
Prabhupada ki
Jai.
jai.
Vaishnav Bindu ki Jai. His Grace Sri Krishna Prabhu ki Jai. Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
All good.